Hi, Primas. I'm Roxy,
And I'm Giselle.
and this is the For Las Primas podcast. Bienvenidas.
Welcome.
Happy Women's History Month. It's no doubt that women shape us. Las madres who raised us, the friends who have held us together, the mentors who have guided us. Our relationships with women are more than just connections. They're sources of healing, resiliency, and transformation.
So today we're diving into the stories that shaped us, the wounds we've healed, and the ways we connect to lift each other up. Because when women come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. So welcome to this episode of For Las Primas. So obviously my mom, our mothers, and their stories, which I've heard numerous times, had a strong impact on me growing up. I still cannot imagine having to uproot your entire life and move to a country and you don't even speak the language. And learning that my mom was only 21 when this happened, it shook me because I thought, well, at the time I thought she was so old, but now looking back, of course, I'm like, she was so young. But I think most of all, her story just speaks to me because of how strong she is. Not only my mom's story, but my entire family's story, my aunts, my grandma, my great aunt. It just all reinforces that there's really strong women in our bloodline.
It really is a matriarchy, and all of these women have, in their own ways, broken their own generational traumas. And we talk about how we're breaking our own set of generational traumas, but we're only able to do that because of all that was healed before us. I think a lot about my grandmother, my abuela Mima. She passed away, sadly, but I do know that she's still with me. And when I think about stories that shape us and stories that have stuck with me, I remember my grandma told me that she grew up very poor in Cuba, um, and that she was so poor that she didn't even have shoes. Like, she would outgrow her shoes and she couldn't really get new ones for a while. And she didn't have a lot of love in her life when she was little. She felt very abandoned. She had a couple of sisters and I think stepsisters. But she'd always tell me about her shoes. And that's something I always remember. And she'd always recite the poem Los Zapaticos de Rosa by Jose Marti, who is a Cuban author, poet. He was huge during the independence from Spain. He was a really prolific writer. He actually died at war because he was a writer. He shouldn't have gone to war. And so, anyway, I always think about my grandma because she always loved us so much and she loved her own children so much. And I think she broke with her own trauma of being poor and unloved, and just, even though they were poor in Cuba, my mom says she never felt like she grew up without. And so my grandma wanted to do better and she did better. And yeah, I just like think about that story. It's so sad, but it's so beautiful. By the way, this is my maternal grandma that I was talking about.
My paternal grandma, I don't really know her story too well, but I do know that they went to Spain. And one time I had a school project and I asked her, like, what's one thing like you regret most in your life or something like that. I don't know why that's such a serious question for a school project.
School projects, they were serious back in the 90s.
And she was like, literally. And she was like, I regret leaving Madrid. She wanted to stay in Madrid. And which then my parents would have never met because they met in the US. They fled Cuba and they went to Spain. And my dad was like selling cigarettes in the black market on the streets of Spain.
Damn. Okay, Gucci.
Yeah, but my grandma on my maternal side, I feel like she was always like well-to-do, and she kind of holds us all to that same standard, like la niña no hacen eso and stuff like that, because she's very like white glove and like
She's
honestly, she
regal.
didn't even she what?
She's regal, your grandma.
She's regal, and she never worked in the U.S. She worked in Cuba, but in the U.S. she didn't work. But she was raising us. She was raising us, which is a job because she raised me and all my cousins.
For sure. And when I think about the women in Cuba too, I think about how much they depended on each other and needed each other and confided in each other. Because my grandma had like ride or die besties, back in the day. And our story and how we came together started with my paternal grandmother and your maternal grandmother. And they graduated college together, they were teachers. And then my grandma had acting school, or she would put on these play, which is hilarious to think about. And then your mom had a bunch of kids. My grandma had a bunch of kids. I think they were just trying to keep these kids busy.
Yeah, for sure. For
They're like,
sure.
get these kids out of my hair, out of my, whatever, put them to act. Your
Yeah.
mom said she sang. Is she a singer?
No.
But anyway, that's how our families came together, was through our grandmothers, and then our moms met just through life. Like they'd just known each other because our grandmothers were friends.
And we asked our mom to send us voice notes about their friendship and how they met. And finally, they did it. Because throwback to episode 1 when we were asking for this and they didn't respond.
We got it in episode 5. That's okay.
Better late than never. Yeah, that's how it goes.
The way they explained their stories too was like, by coincidence, my mom and dad left Cuba at the same time your grandfather left Cuba, and they all went to Panama and they saw each other there. And then coincidentally, my mom was working at a clothing store that my aunt worked at, and your mom walked in and had an application, and my mom like begged her. She's like, please let my friend work here. And they were always getting in trouble and like needed to get separated. But I think that their friendship really took off because we all moved to Florida at the same time.
Mhm.
And so when we moved to Florida, my your dad called my dad and was like, are you moving to Florida? My dad's like, yeah. He's like, are you using this moving company? My dad's like, yeah. He's like, oh, he's dropping off our stuff after he drops off your stuff, which is like insane, actually. Insane.
Yeah, it just feels like there's too many coincidences for there not to be a reason for them to be in each other's lives.
Yeah.
Um,
And when you see them together, they're like the same person, our moms. And the way that they flow and the way that they talk and the way that they dress the same. They wear the same size. They're always sharing clothes. They're always going out to eat. Uh,
mhm.
and I think like having the story of our grandmothers being friends and then our moms being friends, like naturally has led to us being friends and being here today.
When I think about stories that shape us, I think about my mom mostly. Because for me, like, I just feel like my mom has been such a big motivator. My dad, too. Like, I love my dad. But yeah, just seeing my mom like build a business in New Jersey and then come to Florida and then build a business again. And I am so proud of my mom and how far she's come. And she did that. She had her American dream. She had her manifestations and she was like, this is what I want to do. And this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it. And she freaking did it. Like, I feel like now that we've all settled and assimilated into the US, it gives us room to heal and start healing from our generation forward. And I hope that, when I have kids, um, they have more of a step up in life and so on and so forth.
Absolutely. I feel like my mom also inspired me, but in a different way. I didn't have like a career mom. I had, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I always like remember my childhood of like my dad was there. I know he was there, but like I just remember my mom, and I was such a mommy's girl, and I felt like nobody understood me the way my mom did. And so I think that the reason I am a good mom is because I had such a good model for what a mom should be and how a mom should raise their children. And so while I've talked in the past how it's hard to do it all, I do try to pull the foundational things that I really like value from my upbringing. Like my mom always making sure that there was like food in the house. Like that's huge. Like there's always home cooked meals, and just playing with us and watching TV with us and hanging out. Like I value that so much, and always being able to like pick me up from school and being available. I always admire her so much, but I also feel like I can't talk about my mom without talking about my sister, because my sister is 8 years older than me, and she has really shaped who I am. My mom was like the authority, whereas my sister was more like my best friend kind of thing. She was like a cool mom because there were still rules with my sister. It wasn't like so lax tampoco. But the hard questions I had, I would always go to my sister. I wasn't asking my mom. Like first generation kids don't ask their moms about their
Mm-hmm.
periods and sex and drinking and all that. It was like my sister was the person I went to.
Yeah, for sure. I actually asked my sister, like, hey, what kind of stories do you have about like mom or abuela that you feel like helped shape you as a person? And she's like, literally none. All my stories are about you. So me being the big sister, I can understand that.
Because the oldest sort of like breaks and like paves the way, and then the younger ones have so much room to do things, right? Like my sister paved the way. She definitely had a more traditional life than me, but still that like allowed me to fly in a lot of ways. And I'm so inspired by her, and like even though we had different life tracks, I always feel like I will always look up to her. But in many cases she's told me like sometimes you're the big sister and I look up to you. So
Mm.
like do you feel like even though you're the older sister, like you still look up to your younger sisters?
I wish that I had an older sister to tell me to be like, hey, like I did this and like for moving out, for example, I moved out in college and then I stayed out basically. So I told like my younger sisters like you should just take advantage of the time that mom and dad let you live at home because it's not easy out there, but they don't really listen too much. Elisa, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, I don't know. I really did not want a traditional life for myself. And I just spent so much time with my sister and my brother in law. I lived at home till I was like 24, 25. But really, I lived with my sister and her husband because they were like my cool parents and they had little kids. And I loved going over there and playing with them. But I knew I didn't want a traditional lifestyle. There's no right way to do it. But I think that experience has been healing for me because I knew from the start that I didn't want something traditional. And I feel like it's authentic to my life and what I want.
I can't close out this family conversation without mentioning my cousins because me and my cousins, we all grew up together and we're all basically the same age, 1 year younger or over. Like there's like 8 of us or something like that. um, we're just a strong group of women who have been so lucky to be so close ever since we were young. And like we act like sisters and we have a group chat and it literally gets us through everything and we talk about everything. And yeah, when I think about strong women that I'm surrounded by, like I can't not mention them. So shout out Primas, blood Primas.
The Blood Primas. I love your cousins. They're such a great group of women. I also think it's interesting how, and we talk about this a lot, like for you, I feel like you have like a younger generation that you ground yourself in, whereas I have like an older generation that I
Mm-hmm.
ground myself in. Like my tia abuela, Nena, is like the queen bee. I like love her so much. I look up to her. My abuela, Mima, my cousin Dalia, my abuela Laura. I grew up very traditional in that sense, where it was like going back to our boundaries episode. Talking about like children and obedience, like I feel like I really looked up to their stories and I cared so much about their stories about coming from Cuba, and all of that really allowed me to have the work ethic that I have and want to dream bigger for myself. Um, their stories and their resiliency and overcoming communism and coming to a new country, just like you were saying with your mom, and like starting fresh and not just for themselves, but bringing others with them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
thanks to my tia, we and my grandfather, we're like in the United States. If not, my parents probably wouldn't have been able to come. And then once my mom came, she brought her mom. So it's like, not just coming for their own children, but coming and bringing as many as they could too, so everyone can have that same opportunity.
For sure, for sure. And we have that, I mean, that situation too with like our family members like that aren't really blood, but they helped us get here.
those stories helped us get here, and it's the stories that we build with our female friendships, your primas, right, are like this generation that maintains us, right, or that empowers us and keeps us going, because I don't know where I would be without my female friendships. The power of female relationships and friendships is so huge.
Yeah, my female friendships are really, really special to me, especially as I get older, right? Like, I feel like when we were younger, we're like, oh, like you have a lot of friends and you go out and you do all these things. But as I get older, I realize, like, if you're not going to uplift me or support me or continue to go through life sin envidia without jealousy, then I really don't want you around my energy. So I think as I get older, my close friend group is like kind of getting smaller, which I'm happy with. Like I love my close friends. But not to get too emocionada or emotional. But you, Roxy, are a huge part of my growth and who I am now as a person. I went through something really, really hard a couple years ago. And if it wasn't for you, I don't even know that I'd be here where I am today.
Oh my God, Giselle. Um, I know our female friendships are so strong. Our friendship is so strong. I feel responsible for you in a way that's deeper than just a friendship. Like, I feel like you're like my sister, and like I want to bring you along with me on all the things, and I want to like experience life together and do all the things together. And I feel like I see a lot, maybe not now. I feel like we've leveled out, but there was a time where I feel like I saw so much of myself in you, and I didn't want you to make the mistakes that I made. And so I'm also really thankful for our friendship. And you said something really important that triggered our mom's conversation for me, where our moms were saying, we've never been jealous of each other. We've never had envy for one another. No hay envidia, no hay mal de ojo, because life is long and you have a lot of different stages, and it's about the people who are along the ride with you. And I feel like I love that our moms are able to be those people for one another. And I think if you have female friendships that are based in envy or any type of competition, you're out.
Yeah, competition. I feel like that is crazy because it's not like I don't want friends that are competitive, but you don't realize it that your friend is being competitive until like you realize it, if that makes sense. Because it's not going to be in your face kind of competition, but because I'm speaking from experience, like I've had a friend like that and it's just always the comparing and I had to take a step back and be like, are you competing with me right now? But yeah.
And
Yeah.
all the healing that can come when you find the female friendships that are aligned with you and your values. Like, I feel what you just said, like I've outgrown friends where I'm like, this no longer serves me, or the dynamic of the friendship looks different now because I can't allow myself to go deep with every friendship, right? Like, it's either there or it's not. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think back to our trip to Tulum last year, and I was going through a lot. It was a really spiritually messy time for me where I was discovering a lot of things about my life. I was feeling like there wasn't alignment in certain areas of my life, and I needed to do something drastically different. And something awakened in me in that trip. And I remember I went to like a deep meditation, and I just came out and I went to the pool, and you were sitting at the pool, and I just like released. And I just like will never forget how you hugged me. And that's like so silly to say, but you just grabbed me and you're like, it's okay. It's okay. Like, let's talk about it. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to have these emotions. And I am getting emotional, but I feel like a lot of my deep friendships have helped heal parts of me that I couldn't have healed by myself.
I think that that is why female friendships are so special because we can connect at a deeper level that I don't think that men can.
I have shared things with you that I haven't shared with probably anybody. But like there are things that we talk about where it's so deep and it comes from the heart, and finding those female friendships or those friendships that exist where you can say anything at any given time and there's just like no judgment and it's okay. I'm not scared to tell you anything. Like I could tell you the craziest thing and you'd be like, oh man, you're so fuck that thing, you're
Yeah.
right, you know.
Yeah, literally same. I
How
mean,
have you found healing with your friendships, with your female relationships?
being able to be vulnerable at a level where you're not that vulnerable with anybody um, is healing. I had a meditation in Tulum, me and my cousin. So we're connected between our maternal side, our moms are sisters, and we have the same grandma. So we had a meditation. It was a cacao ceremony. It was very beautiful because it was really maternally based. And she basically, like, the imagery that was guiding us was like, imagine your womb and like your mom's womb are connected, and then your mom's womb and her mom's womb are connected. And like basically me and my cousin had the exact same meditation, which was crazy. And but it just always like brings me to like, I just feel like we're just like, this is a higher thing, this is a higher frequency thing going on.
This reminds me, my sister and I, a few years ago, we did a past life meditation, regression therapy, and it was a group regression therapy. This was probably like a decade ago at this point. And so I like don't remember ever falling into the deep meditation because you go through like all these levels, right? Where you're like more and more calm. And then I just felt so worried about my sister because she had never really done anything like that before. And I was like, oh my God, is she okay? Is she into this? Is she not into this? This was like kind of like the beginning of my like spiritual journey and everything. And we're done. And she just got all these tears. Oh, and she had been snoring. So I was like, is she asleep? Is she asleep during this thing? Um, she wasn't. She was just in such a deep state. And she woke up and she was just crying. And the lady who led it said that she saw us like this, like the energies in front of us were like so molded together. And then we went back to that place and we did Reiki. And the same gal who saw us did her Reiki, and this other lady did mine, and told her that we have been together in I don't know how many lives, and it's manifested in different ways. So she's been my mom, I've been her mom, we've been, this one we're sisters. So my sister and I have been together for like many, many lives, which makes sense because I'm most comfortable with her. But
That's so beautiful.
it's not beautiful though. That Reiki session, the lady was like, I can't reach you. And I'm like, you what I'm not paying for this. Like, this is crazy. You can't reach me? Like, what? Lie. What are you doing? Lie.
Give me something.
Give me something. And I'm not, but she comes out, she has all these beautiful things to say, and I'm like, she couldn't reach me. Okay, well, here we are.
Like,
So, talking about like meditations and Reiki and past life, I just have to say that all the abuelas and the moms and the way they tuned into Guate Mercado makes more sense to me now than ever in my life. I would also tell everyone to shut up because el horóscopo's on, you know?
literally, like, I feel like when they had it on, we would be like, oh my God, are they so for real right now with this on the TV, and just roll our eyes and be like, oh. But now I'm like, dude, I want to listen to that. Like, roll the footage.
Also, like, it was I'm like tearing because I'm cracking up so hard. Like, it was live. So if you missed your horoscope, you missed it. And oh my God, my grandma would get so mad. Cállense, cállense. And she would like yell at us. And she's like, no, no lo oí, porque todo el mundo estaba hablando. And that would like ruin her whole night. And I get it. It would ruin my night too.
Segment, like, because I feel like it was a segment that would just come on the TV. Like, it was
Yeah.
like own thing, right? Like it wasn't like part of like Gordo y la Flaca or something like
It
that.
was like, I think he was on the either Noticiero or Primer Impacto. It was like something. He was a segment.
He was like a segment. He would just come on. Oh my God.
And he was just so fabulous. I remember being like, this is so silly. And
Yeah.
now I'm like on co-star, like, Giselle, what's our relationship like today? What is it saying?
It reminds me of, did you ever watch That's So Raven, where she did an episode with like the thing? And I'm like, oh my God, this is just that quacky stuff on TV that our parents used to watch. Now I'm like, no, this is for real. This is serious.
It's so cool being Latino, and something that white culture will never understand is like the mix of Catholicism with the tarot and the spirituality, with the Santeria and the rituals and all of those things. I have fond memories of my grandmother always blessed us. It's called Santiguad. So she'd always say, ven, que te voy a santiguar. And she'd do this prayer thing, and she'd be like, like saying the prayer, like doing all these crosses on my forehead. And then she would take all the energy from me. She'd go, whoosh, and like throw it out the window or throw it out the door. And I just have these vivid memories of that when I was little. And I swear that I thought, like, okay, she's going to bless me. Everything's okay. But like, was that Catholicism? Was that like, it's all mixed in. So you never really know what.
It was, yeah. The only thing that I really remember was doing the flores, el baño de flores. We be doing that like all the time, always a baño de flores. And I remember like as a kid, and that water was so cold, and then it had flower petals in it, and we would have to dump it from like a pitcher. I'll never forget that. And then she's like, dump this on you when you come out of the bath. So it's like when you're done showering, you just dump it on you. And it's always cold, and it always has petals in it. And then you can't even dry yourself. You have to let it dry on you. You're like,
Who made that rule? Who made that rule? Is that towel gonna take the magic away? Like, I don't get it.
let's get into some cafecito y chisme. It's always one of us that forgets the drink.
I brought my cafecito today. I needed it.
So you have cheese.
I have cheese. I have cheese. Oh, I forgot I had cheese. There were pictures taken behind the scenes, like people snapshotted it, of Bad Bunny doing a Tiny Desk concert. So that's coming soon.
Yeah, he just dropped his Calvin Klein campaign.
What?
If you've seen it,
Is it hot?
it's so good. Move out the way, Jeremy Allen White. He was the last guy that I was like, yes, on the Calvin Klein campaign. Nah. Now
Bad
it's
Bunny. Bad Bunny.
took that crown.
Is he shirtless, like just in underwear or what?
Yeah, just in underwear. When you get a chance. It's like a whole video of him.
Oh my God.
And photo shoot. But I sent you the video, the good stuff.
Wow. Wow.
Like Instagram right now.
I'm like immediately looking online. It's like on Rolling Stone. Okay. Yeah, run.
She said, literally, I'm going to run right now.
Literally run. But anyway, I love Tiny Desk. I do feel like Tiny Desk has evolved. It used to be more like indie artists and people you don't know, but Bad Bunny is going to be great. This album lends itself so well to that. And if you haven't watched Doechie's, she's unbelievable.
Yeah, I haven't. But I saw she was on there. Yeah.
She's really good. So that's my chisme.
Good one. I always love an opportunity to talk about Bad Bunny. So my chisme, it's not new chisme, but I think it was relevant to what we talked about today. So I was catching up on Southern Charm, and I was just watching Paige and Craig's interaction, and they already broke up. But it's just interesting how like people and fans are really like targeting Paige and making her a villain for breaking up with Craig because she just clearly didn't want the same things that he did. And there's an episode where she says, like, you know, I'm 30, and when you were 30, nobody was pressuring you to settle down and have kids, and all I want is that same like level of like allotment to just like be able to be 30 and not be pressured to settle down and have kids. And then she was, what if I never want to settle down? What if I always want to be a career woman and like have kids but still be a career woman and just not settle down in like Charleston or like whatever and like leave Manhattan, because she lives in Manhattan. And I'm just like watching how people are commenting on socials and they're just being like, oh my God, she's so immature and blah, 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 blah. So like people are not giving her the grace that I think she deserves. And for leaving him knowing that she was like never gonna want what he wanted. That's hard. I feel like a lot of people wouldn't. They would just like stay.
The Southern Charm demographic is not for me. I'm going to start there by saying that. I also think that his career went like this after he started dating her, and her career went like this because she is who she is and she was always going to be successful. And it got too much for him because immature men cannot handle strong women. But I do remember when they first started dating, I went back into some episodes and he was a disaster of a human being.
If you watched Southern Charm from the beginning, like he was never a fan favorite.
Yeah.
Opposite. He was like highly disliked.
Career, she deserves to like do whatever she wants. You have to have your values aligned. It's no longer enough for people to love each other. It's like at a deeper level because women have options now. And so they're able to be selective with who they want to spend the rest of their life with.
That was all my cheese me.
Well, that was good cheese me. I want to end with a Jane Fonda quote that sticks with me when I think about female relationships. She said, I don't even know what I would do without my women friends. I mean, I have my friends, therefore I am. I exist because I have my women friends. They make me stronger. They make me smarter. They make me braver. They tap me on the shoulder when I might be in need of course correcting. And I feel that so deeply with my female relationships. I will say that when I got pregnant, it was during COVID and it was a really isolating time and it was a really hard time. And I feel so thankful for my army of women who just stood behind me and supported me and have been ride or dies with me. All the decisions I've made have supported me and continue to support me, support our podcast. Like, I just feel so thankful for not just my family and that foundation of women and their history that has helped me be who I am, but also the women that maintain me day to day and these friendships that really sustain me. And I don't know where I would be without them.
I agree 100% to all my female friendships and cousins and close friends and all relationships that I have. I'm so grateful for you guys. And we should dedicate this episode to you guys.
Yes, this is dedicated to all the primas, all the besties, all the family. And to you, G, I mean, it takes a huge level of vulnerability to have like actually gone ahead and made this project happen. And I'm just so thankful it's with you. And I love you so much. And I hope we get to celebrate every Women's History Month with a podcast together.
Yes, you too. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you pushing to do this.
Well, thank you all so much for listening. We want to hear from you, so message us on Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube.
Yes. Until next time.
Bye, primas.
Bye.